Every time I went in, just go invisible.
Yeah, so basically in terms of dealing with Weaver, you'll either need some vision to begin with to see where he goes, or you'll have to chronosphere him immediately as soon as you time walk in. That's really the only way. And that was a play that you probably know what you did wrong there, which is you have to account for where the other heroes are, and you can't tunnel vision on him or his teammates will kill you.
Mega kill.
What your team is doing, not just you right now, is you guys are kind of going in single file a little bit, like you guys are in a frantic rush to defend the tower. And I just advise to be a bit more patient in those situations. You have to evaluate the whole fight and the whole landscape before you take one. So in that case, if you're going to lose the tower anyway, it's okay for you to lose the tower for nothing instead of getting killed and then giving up the tower. You just have to pick your spots a little bit more carefully. And also, you committed chronospheres. The next time you're up, they know that you might not have it for a little bit. And that kind of hamstrings your team and frees them to be more aggressive. So when you play, just try to have more awareness of like what's going on and watch more of the map and try to see how people are going to play around your ultimate, what counters they have to it, and how they're going to account for you. And try to make the same judgments when you're thinking about how to deal with them.
Okay.
So yeah, gold isn't really an issue for you in this game. You're getting a lot of gold compared to basically everybody else. I'm bringing up the charts right now, and you're like a solid 60 GPM ahead of the Viper, and you're almost at 500 despite not being in that many kills. So, you know, as I said earlier, you probably want to participate with Chronosphere in more early fights to try to get pickoffs, which also slow them down. And at this point in the game, it's largely going to come down to how the ultimates go for both teams. They have some mobile heroes and they have some survivable heroes, like as you mentioned, Weaver and Viper and Wraith King. So that's usually a hard, what I like to call death ball lineup to fight into, where if they just go together, it's 5. It's pretty hard for you to take them in a team fight. You need to hit your ultimates very well to do so. So I think this is a nice opportunity over here because looks like they're clumping. Alright, so you did manage to get 2 of them. Just a small thing here. Make sure you apply the Mjolnir buff onto yourself.
Oh yeah. Well.
Or onto your allies even. Because obviously like that makes you deal more damage when you get attacked or anybody else who you apply it on.
My gratitude.
So overall, I think that was a pretty good fight. You guys, I mean, you did lose. I think you lost the Centaur before, but oh no, you lost the Centaur in the Warlock. Their Magnus bought back for some reason, and because he didn't use his RP. But that ended up just being a waste because he didn't have a boots of travel. He couldn't get back into the fight. So I think that went pretty well for you guys. That was a nice Chronosphere. It kind of separated them and caught 2 of them, prevented them from helping each other. So that was good. Looks like you're going for a Daedalus.
Yep.
So, your hero, you're building this game. There are many ways to build Void. Your build in this game is a little bit glassy, and what I mean by that is you're kind of glass cannon-ish. You deal a lot of damage, but you don't have anything that protects you from like spells or counter initiation. You don't have an item that has mixed utility, like say Butterfly, which I think would be a really good pickup in this game because 3 of them are dependent on attack damage, and having the Butterfly just saves you from getting hit that much and forces them to get MKBs. Also, I think other things that could help you survive more, lifesteal, obviously, as there's a really good grip and sleep here by the Bane. Yeah, that's your BKB doesn't stop grip, but that might have been a situation where you know that the Bane can cancel your stuff, so either you want to get him in the Chronosphere as well, or you just want to focus the Chronosphere on him so you can kill him, and your allies can put the Reaper away.
Double kill. Dominating. I have seen the future.
So yeah, that's one way to build the Void. Get some like more tankable stuff. more survivability items. Another way to build him is more of a utility void, so you can still deal damage, but if you get something like an Aghanim Scepter, it makes your cooldown on ultimate really short. I think it brings it down to like 60 seconds or something absurd like that, and it makes your thing last for 7 seconds, so that's pretty huge. Or you get a Refresher Orb and have 2 ults, and I think Refresher might not be a bad choice this game because there are multiple heroes that you want to keep in the Chronosphere or make sure you get in so you can kill them. So either of those paths are good ways to go. In this game you have a ton of damage, but I think what your team is lacking a little bit is control for these fights, because you only have one reliable mass disable kind of from the Centaur, and the Warlock has his ultimate, but that's like an ultimate timer type of disable. So what you guys are having a problem with, as you see in these fights, is having trouble controlling the Weaver, keeping him in place, or keeping their heroes in place to fight you. So I think knowing that the lineups are like that, and knowing that, you know, the players on your team and what items they have, it's probably a good idea for you to get some kind of utility instead of just continue to go for raw damage.
Okay.
What's your last item, or your last 2 items, going to be? What are you thinking at this point in the game? Do you remember any of your thoughts or ideas going on in this one?
I think I went for Butterfly first. I think I just followed a guide straight, the items all the way down.
Okay, and I mean, that's a good way to go initially when you start playing, but you ended a great streak here, so that's a ton of gold. That basically finished your Daedalus. For the most part, I've seen a lot of guides, and I find them either very situational or like super niche, so to speak. Like it's like a very specific set of games or skill range that they apply to. I think with Void, it's probably easier to make a guide than some other heroes because you're like it's a pretty safe bet to just get damage. But in the future, I'm sure you'll consider more some of the item choices that you're making and what you need to survive and have some sustain in these fights.
Yeah.
Because right now you do deal a ton of damage. Like whoever you catch in Chronosphere is basically going to die, especially if it's a hero like Weaver. But if fights go longer, you're going to need to do more than that. Especially the big team fights, because your team is having some trouble and they're a bit ahead.
Do you ever need to stop farming as the hard carry, or just keep going?
Not really. The only tough choice to make, which kind of depends on your anticipation and reading of the map, is if you're farming when your team needs you for a fight. Like, I've seen too many situations where a team needs to push, or has an opening to push or do Roshan, and the carry or someone else insists on going to jungle to farm, and that gets them picked off, or something else bad happens, they miss a window. So that's what you want to be wary of, making sure that you don't miss windows of opportunities or get picked off when you're farming. This is a really nice Chronosphere up here. You presumably are going to kill both of them, looks like. Yeah. So, you clearly have a hang for how the Void goes, and you're kind of... I like what you're doing is keeping yourself out of their vision, instead of showing yourself on the map. So that's usually a good way to go. Like, don't let them see you until it's too late, until it's time for you to jump in. And that's a habit that you want to continue to cultivate on the Void.
Okay.
So, what I probably would have done here, it looks like your team's headed for it, is... It looks like theirs is about to finish it, is probably go for Roshan. You just killed 2 of their pretty key heroes, and I'd probably head straight for Roshan in those circumstances. It looks like they were already there, so it's going to be a fight here. Wow, you're going to have to cut through 3 Wraith King lives. That's going to be rough, huh?
Yeah.
Especially without that Luna ult to help this second time. Yeah, the Weaver kind of cut you down there. So yeah, that's one of the weaknesses of Void as a hero. It's when your Chronosphere is down, it becomes much harder for you to pick your spots when to fight, and you become very vulnerable. And also, like, they can actually fight back now because they're not in Chronosphere. So, while I think your team should have done a better job of getting to Roshan there, it's one of the limitations of your hero that becomes exacerbated by the lack of defensive or utility items. Because I think if you had a BKB there, you could ignore the Wraith King's stun and continue
Yeah.
fighting. Or if you had obviously some kind of like Refresher or Aghanims, you'd be much closer to having your ult back, or it would have lasted longer. So, again, it's item choice may or may not help your limitations or aid them in a certain game, depending on situation. Especially because you knew that you had ulted already for the Magnus and the Viper, but not the Weaver. So that makes fighting Weaver a very difficult proposition for you without like a gem or some kind of vision.
Yeah, we struggled. I don't think anyone bought anything in this game to see the Weaver.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, that's something that you'll run into at some of these games. It's just people say being greedy or not doing their job, and there's multiple ways you can deal with that. One of them is kind of just you can't just step up and do that yourself, and you might have to, as in, it looks like you bought a dust here, just because other people won't do it. Did you sell your Midas?
Yeah, I think I did.
Alright,
I don't think it's just... I don't know why I did it. I still have enough slots.
yeah. I'm not sure, it might have been just a panic sale or something. 'Cause yeah, you do have...
Tower is under attack.
Look what you did there. You do have slots, so you didn't need to sell your Midas yet.
Has fallen.
Now, one of the things about Midas, of course, is that it gives reliable gold, which doesn't go away when you die. So, yeah,
Okay.
probably should have kept that Midas, but it's just a minor thing. And yeah, I like that you stepped up to try to buy some vision to help your team out. And what are you going for last year? Looks like a heart or satanic?
Heart, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been a heart.
So, heart and satanic, this is something that I think I see way too much of players going one way instead of the other. I see a lot of hearts, but very few satanics, especially in situations where it's justified. And what satanic does, especially for like a right-click hero that doesn't just like go in and out of fights that easily, is it gives you a second wind. So, like basically, you get it, you go in with the Chronosphere, try to kill some people, and then when they pop back up and start fighting back, you let yourself get low, and then you use the satanic, and it gives you a second wind. You know, like a second burst of full health, which will buy you enough time to get your time walk back, and maybe be able to get away or chase someone down. So, Heart's a good choice for raw HP, but their team doesn't really have that much burst damage, which is what Heart is best against. Like, they don't have anything that like instantly kills you. They're more about sustain. So in that case, I think getting Life Leech in the form of like a satanic would be a better choice.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, that was pretty bad positioning by your team there because you're kind of opening yourselves to get set up by the Magnus reverse polarity, even though they didn't capitalize on it. And that was just another situation that we mentioned earlier where you grip for that single target, but then you have to be aware of what else they have on their team and who's capable of stopping you. And in that case, your worry is that someone will come from uphill and disrupt your Chronosphere by gripping you, in this case the Bane. So, the ways you could deal with that, you could either wait for your ally to go in and stun first, so that they surround, or that says they start grouping together, and then expose their position so you can Chronosphere all of them. Or you have to cast a bigger Chronosphere that covers the ramp, like more to the left side, so that you can't just come in and grip you and you can fight at the edge of the Chronosphere.
Your blood sours.
Yeah, I think that was just sore for Weaver. Thought try kill him.
Yeah, and that worked
Really
for me a
think
couple
about it.
times before, so that was
Yeah.
like, you know, pretty understandable.
Locked in the black.
This is really the problem that your team's kind of running into in these fights, although they're still going fairly well for you, is really just the sustain. Like, you have rounds of spells and big ultimates, but once you get your round of spells off, if they aren't killed or significantly, like, crippled, then they just stay there and keep fighting, and they have a better team built for doing that. The second life on the Wraith King, obviously, and the tankiness of, like, and sustained damage of the Viper and Weaver. So I'm probably going to let this replay go for one more big team fight. I think we've gone over a lot of the Faceless Void stuff in this game. Do you have any other comments or questions? I'll finish going over the game with you, but I'll probably end the stream fairly soon.
Yeah, I think the ending's the big bit. My team all died. I think was what happened, and then they didn't have buyback.
And of course, it's another big thing, saving for buyback instead of finishing your items later in the game when deaths are much longer and much more consequential. Like, you know, depending on where the fight happens, one team fight for either side here could mean a set of barracks. So that's just a general thing that you seem to be aware of that some other people don't always pay heed to. It looks like they haven't waited for the Bane to reconnect, so they're just using him.
I think he comes back. Can't remember.
I think that was a situation where you might have been able to feel safe just jumping to the high ground, maybe not necessarily using your chronosphere, but just trying to kill the Magnus or force him to waste his spells, because you could see that the Weaver was bottom and engaging one of your heroes, and you had some backup. So whenever you can get kills without using your chronosphere, that's just even more added value. And because you do have a lot of damage, it is possible for you to do that if you catch someone out of position. So what was your last item here? Butterfly, as you said?
Yeah, I think butterfly. I can't remember. I got a heart, and then.
Okay. As I said, I'd probably save.
Yeah, I got
a
a butterfly to finish.
I'd probably save the last slot for Leech, probably like Satanic or something.
Yeah.
Here's a pretty good catch. The Weaver was badly out of position. That's the point. He was so out of position that I almost, if I were you playing the game, I would have thought that it was like a fake Weaver. So, because I'd be like, why is he all the way over there by himself? So that's a nice pick off, and it looks like you guys are going to push to capitalize on it.
Thanks.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has
Well, there's a big ult.
How can it be? Death yet.
So magic.
Pitiful.
Double kill.
So yeah, this fight looks like it's going alright for you guys, but again, there's just a problem with the sustained damage. The Warlock wasn't there. He just kind of came in by himself at the end, so that was a pretty bad waste of his spells and ultimate. I think you pretty much did what you had to do there. I mean, you helped key a couple of kills. You survived. You're healing up some HP, so it's pretty good. I don't think you were responsible for what went wrong there. I think the Warlock should have just known to disengage when the fight was over instead of running back in.
Okay.
And yeah, there's not much you could do about that other than try to communicate and try to tell them what not to do, or like, you know, simple like back or something. They might not listen, and they might, and if you can prevent a disaster like that. And playing the Void is a hero that's relatively self-sufficient, like you can carry and take over games by yourself. So I'm not sure if that's one of the reasons you like playing him, but that helps you overcome the effect of teammates making very poor decisions.
Yeah.
Grounded. Curse only peaceful death. Deal with it.
But yeah, they have some very durable heroes right now, and the Wraith King has 2 lives, obviously. The Weaver basically has 2 lives unless you kill him instantly, and even if you do, he can just buy back and use his time-lapse to get back to the position that he was in. So it's pretty tough for you guys, and you know what it comes down to is the game's partly in your hands with your use of Chronosphere, but it's also partly not, because you need your allies to hit their spells too. This looks like you got another nice kill up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream real soon because I think I know we've basically talked about some of the void concepts, and you've demonstrated that you know what you're doing, and you've done a pretty good job on it. Do you have any other questions for me?
Nope, it's been good, thanks.
Alright, so thank you for joining us for this episode. This game ultimately plays out. I think you guys lost a big team fight, and the game went to the Radiant, and with such ultimate dependent heroes, again, you have to combo your spells really well, or in terms of itemization, you could go for something that gives you more utility or more frequency of spells, like Aghanim Scepter and Refresher. So I think this would have been a game for you to pick those items up. And that's all for this episode of the Game Clinic.